Germany, France, and Denmark just shut down the $1.53 trillion U.S. auto industry live and in real time. With a wave of retaliatory tariffs, blacklists, and cross-border trade pacts, three European allies flipped the script on America's auto dominance and triggered what could become the largest supply chain disruption in U.S. manufacturing history. This wasn't just a policy response, it was a seismic geopolitical strike. The damage is already visible. Tesla sales in Denmark plummeted by over 65%. Ford and GM layoffs are sweeping through swing states, and the EU's coordinated green energy alliances are locking American EVs out of the global market. As Trump's 25% tariff reverberates worldwide, the fallout isn't just economic, it's strategic. If you care about how fast a trillion-dollar industry can crack, hit that subscribe button now. Because what's happening across Europe isn't just retaliation, it's a bold move to erase U.S. influence from the auto map. Let's dive into the 5 game-changing moves that Europe just made to take control of the future. Number 5, coordinated tariffs strike back. In response to Trump's sweeping 25% tariffs on EU-made cars, Germany, France, and Denmark wasted no time. They pushed forward with counter-tariffs targeting American EVs and combustion engine exports, slapping fees as high as 30% on select models. For U.S. automakers, it was like hitting a brick wall. Ford saw European orders for the Mustang Mach-E drop 45% within a single quarter. GM's planned expansion into the French EV market halted indefinitely. But this wasn't just about revenue, it was about leverage. By weaponizing tariffs at key market access points, these countries reshaped how American vehicles flow through European ports. Hamburg, Marseille, and Copenhagen became choke points, and U.S. shipping firms faced new compliance inspections, carbon audits, and even temporary port bans. As a result, the cost of doing business in Europe skyrocketed for U.S. automakers, effectively pricing them out of middle-market EV segments. European auto players like Renault, VW, and Stellantis capitalized immediately, launching aggressive ad campaigns emphasizing homegrown reliability. Number 4, the Denmark Blacklist and Consumer Revolt. While governments played the policy game, Denmark's consumer market fired a cultural warning shot. The Academic Pension Fund, managing over $22 billion, blacklisted Tesla, citing worker rights violations and Elon Musk's erratic political behavior. At its peak, the fund held $72 million in Tesla shares, now zero. This triggered a domino effect. Other pension and ethical funds across Scandinavia began reviewing their stakes in American carmakers. At the retail level, Danish Tesla registrations dropped 65.6% in March compared to the year prior. Customers opted instead for BYD, VW, and Peugeot, brands seen as better aligned with European values. Simultaneously, the Danish government increased taxes on luxury EVs, hitting Tesla's high-end lineup hardest. Model S and Model X saw double-digit price hikes overnight, pushing many buyers toward lower-cost alternatives. Tesla showrooms in Copenhagen and Aarhus began reporting no-shows and cancellations at record levels. Number 3, Green Alliance shifts trade power. France, Germany, and Denmark went beyond retaliation. They built a new ecosystem. The Green Mobility Summit unified European EV production strategies, creating a seamless trade corridor for battery cells, raw minerals, and finished vehicles. The summit fast-tracked tariff-free EV exchange between participating EU states, Canada, and Mexico, cutting the U.S. out of crucial green trade deals. In practice, this allowed VW's electric vans and Renault's battery packs to cross borders frictionlessly, while Tesla faced bureaucratic hurdles and surging logistics costs. The summit also implemented standardized compliance frameworks, sustainability targets, carbon scoring, and end-of-life recycling benchmarks. U.S. brands, still adapting to EPA regulations, struggled to keep pace. In Q2 2025 alone, French EV exports jumped 22%, while U.S. brands dropped 17% across European showrooms. It was more than a trade summit, it was a market redrawing, and America wasn't holding the pen. Number 2, strategic divestment from U.S. brands. European investment firms didn't just blacklist, they started divesting. Large stakeholders like Nordea Asset Management and Amundi Asset Management pulled back from U.S. auto exposure, citing growing regulatory uncertainty and social backlash against American CEOs. These divestments sent subtle but powerful signals across boardrooms and governments. Suddenly, investing in Ford or Tesla came with reputational risk. Auto stocks with high U.S. exposure lost favor among ESG funds and institutional portfolios. Meanwhile, Eurozone exchanges reported spikes in capital flowing to domestic automakers. By August 2025, data from Bloomberg showed a 12% increase in market cap for European EV leaders, while U.S. EV players saw net outflows totaling over $3.4 billion. Even private equity began reshuffling portfolios toward European battery startups and mineral processors. It wasn't just policy, it was money moving with intent. Number 1. Supply chain rewiring and long-term isolation. Perhaps the most decisive move came quietly. European automakers began shifting their procurement pipelines away from U.S. inputs. Battery contracts moved from American partners to Scandinavian and Canadian firms. EV software, once co-developed with Silicon Valley teams, was now being localized. Stellantis and BMW announced joint ventures with Quebec-based lithium refiners. Renault inked long-term cobalt sourcing deals with Finnish processors. Mercedes-Benz began testing in-house chips designed in Munich, cutting dependency on U.S. semiconductor partners. The implication? A slow, deliberate unraveling of American integration in Europe's clean car future. While U.S. firms wrestled with tariffs, EU automakers were future-proofing against further geopolitical shocks. By the end of 2025, over 30% of Europe's EV supply chain had decoupled from U.S. involvement, up from just 12% 2 years prior. European public sentiment turns against U.S. auto brands. Amid the political and economic moves, public perception across Europe shifted dramatically. Polls conducted in September 2025 showed that 58% of EU consumers now preferred to buy domestically made electric vehicles over imported U.S. brands, up from 39% in 2023. Social media campaigns using hashtags like #DriveLocal and #EuropeFirst gained traction, further fueling a cultural shift. Local influencers and eco-conscious celebrities voiced their preference for European EVs, citing sustainability, labor rights, and regional pride. U.S. brands, once seen as aspirational, now appeared tone-deaf or exploitative to younger, more socially active buyers. In Germany and France, two of the largest EU markets, dealerships reported a 22% drop in inquiries about Ford and Tesla models. Instead, consumers leaned toward Peugeot, Volkswagen, and Volvo. This wasn't just market fluctuation, it was identity-driven consumer activism reshaping the future of mobility in Europe. Final thoughts. The U.S. didn't just lose a trade war. It lost strategic ground in the most important transformation the auto industry has seen in a century. France, Germany, and Denmark didn't shout. They planned. They executed. And in the process, they accelerated America's decline as a global auto leader. This wasn't just retaliation. It was a reshaping of the map. Police Scarlight, stay ahead of the headlines. Subscribe now and don't miss what comes next, because this story is still unfolding, and the next move could redefine everything.